we're going to do the cuffs and the hem trim. So the hem trim has the front and the back twice each. So what we're going to do is we're going to find a front piece and a back piece, and we're going to sew them together on the side seam with the right sides facing each other. There we go. That's my first one. Don't really need to pin both sides. One side would be perfectly adequate. And I do the other side as well. Front is shorter than the back. I think that's really cool. I always love that when I have a shirt like that. So I thought, yeah, I'll do that for this as well. Also, it's tapered in a little bit more than the piece I'm doing here. I finished this and I thought, nope, I'm going to taper this in a bit so that it looks really fabulous. I'm also going to do the wrist cuffs now while I'm at it. No point going to the machine again later. And I can move over and sew those all together. If you have really nice threads, you don't want to waste them, right? So make sure that you put the next piece straight under it like this. And that is very helpful. Secure your stitches. And then I'm also going to do my side seams of the hem trim. Just put that on. I'll just fold it round actually. I don't even cut this off. There you go. Just pick it up again and pop it under, and then cut the threads. You save a load of thread, especially, and this is a good tip for anyone that's making these in their Etsy shop. If you're doing it like that and you just keep running through and you cut off the threads every time, you're going to waste so much. What you want to do is like waste as little as possible. We're going to iron all the seam allowances apart, and then we're going to go on with the hem trim, and we're going to put the cuffs to the side for a minute, and we're coming back to them after we finish the hem trim. Cuffs this way. And with the hem trim, I'm doing a different technique. I also show you the bob standard technique, but that is in a different video, which you can also watch at the Academy. And here we're going to do a really cool hem trim, which shows you how to get it really flat. Because if you're using heavier fabric, you always get that really thick stretched seam where you attach a hem trim. We don't want to do that. So we take the hem trims, put them inside each other, right sides facing, and then we're going to close the lower edge of it, which is the one that dips down in the back and comes up in the front. So if you're sewing together the straight edge, that is wrong. So you want to do the edge that has the curve on, and we're sewing that together. 1 centimeter seam allowance or foot width, it really doesn't matter here at all. Going all the way around, I'm using a bob standard stitch again because it doesn't need to stretch, it's fine. You could also use woven fabric for this, and again I did this on my red example that I have in the Academy, and you can pop over there and have a look at it as well once you've purchased the pattern, and it's a really great little one as well. So now I am going to cut back my seam allowances just to make sure it's nice and flat. And then we're going to iron the seam apart because I'm not understitching it. Could you understitch it? Of course you could. But I just wanted to do something a little bit different here, and I'm just ironing them apart. Right, then I'm going to turn it and roll the edge out, and also press that all the way around so it looks really nice and sharp. I love it. I actually love this fabric. This is Doodles from Joann's, and then I got some Michael Miller fabric from Fabric Worm. That's the yellow. They have got a really good selection, and the blue is from Michael Levine from Los Angeles. Actually, they have a website as well. So now I'm going to put my trim over, and I'm going to now attach just one side. That's why it's going to be flat, because we're going to iron the seam apart. So The top part of it is going to be overlocked. The lower part here is just going to be pinned to and sewn on. It's really as simple if you follow the steps. And of course, as some of you might know, my machine actually broke just as I was going on to the next step. It was really annoying, so I had to have it fixed before I could carry on. Anyway, there we go, all pinned over to the sewing machine, and let's sew this in and then overlock the top edge right along there. Again, seam allowance is 1 centimeter. If you do foot width, it's going to be like a few millimeters longer. It doesn't matter. Make sure nothing falls over. That's important. So it's nice and flat. That's what we're going for. And don't pull anything. No need to do that. Like I said, you can just use woven fabric as well. That will be okay. Overlock the edge. And again, I'm not stretching it here. Just go all the way around. It's product placement here. Nobody pays me for it. I think brother should give me lots of money. So now I'm just going to fold over this part, and it's going to literally sit on the other seam allowance. It might be a good idea to cut that seam allowance back before you start. I didn't. I just kind of like pinned it on and then realized it was a bit long in some places. So you could just trim the seam allowance all the way around, so you don't have this like here it's standing over a little bit. Well, that definitely is a no-no, so I'm cutting it back. So I would just do that when you begin and have nothing left standing. And that gives you then a really, really nice result. There we go. And I'm pinning everything in, and again I'm using pins which are vertical to the seam, so I can leave them in. I have to say, because all this fabric was really thick, which is why I wanted to show this light method, I actually took them out, because what happens sometimes when you leave your pins in and you sew over them and you're using top stitching thread, you'll have a loop underneath it. And the other thing I wanted to say is don't go too close to the seam. Go a little bit further apart. You could also use a twin needle. So I'm using fairly much the same distance that I've also used on the fronts when I did the armhole. And again, make sure that your tension is in the right setting so you don't end up with a loop underneath it, so that it looks nice and flat. So you can see me here taking out the pins as I get there. Anyway, I'm going over now again on the other side as well, as you can see me do here, and that gives it a really commercial look, so people won't immediately be able to tell that you've sewn that yourself, but they think you've got it, I don't know, from Oshkosh maybe. That would be nice. I'd like to be compared to Oshkosh. So done. Now I want to press this so that any wibbly wobblies are gone. Awesome. Good press. Lots of steam. And we have arrived at our last part, which is going to